Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And what I'm about to show you might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever, because there's a 2009 Lincoln penny that could be worth $8 million. Yes, you heard that right. $8 million. And before you think this is just another collector's fantasy, let me tell you that this coin has sold for amounts that would make your jaw drop to the floor. Picture this. You're at the grocery store, you get some change back, and sitting there among the quarters and dimes is a penny from 2009 with a tiny D mint mark. You probably wouldn't even notice it. You'd probably just toss it in your cup holder or drop in a jar at home. But what if I told you that specific penny could literally buy you a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, and still leave you with millions in the bank? This isn't science fiction. This is the reality of rare coin collecting. And this 2009 Lincoln penny has reached auction prices as high as $8 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered in circulation. Now you're probably asking yourself, what makes this coin so incredibly valuable? And that's exactly what we're going to explore right now, because the story behind this penny is absolutely fascinating. The 2009 Lincoln penny series was special from the very beginning, commemorating the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the United States Mint released 4 different reverse designs throughout that year, each representing a different period of Lincoln's life. We had the birth and early childhood design, the formative years design, the professional life design, and finally the presidency design. But here's where things get really interesting. The Denver Mint, marked with that little d, produced millions of these pennies, but a tiny fraction of them came out with catastrophic minting errors that transformed ordinary 1-cent pieces into multi-million-dollar treasures. The error that collectors go absolutely crazy for is called a major broad strike combined with a dramatic off-center strike. Imagine the coin being struck outside its retaining collar, causing the metal to spread wider than normal, and simultaneously being hit off-center so that parts of the design are completely missing. When you combine these two errors on a 2009 penny, especially on the professional life or presidency reverse designs, you create something that numismatic experts consider the holy grail of modern errors. But wait, there's more to this story that makes it even more incredible, because the condition of these error coins plays a massive role in their value. A circulated example might be worth thousands, but an uncirculated specimen with sharp details, no wear, and vibrant original luster can command prices that seem absolutely impossible for a penny. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt through American coinage, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because Error Coins Hunter brings you the most valuable and rare coin discoveries every single week. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next in this video. The grading scale for coins runs from poor 1 all the way up to perfect 70. And when we're talking about these 2009 error pennies, the difference between a grade of MS 63 and MS 67 can literally mean millions of dollars in value difference. Authentication companies like PCGS and NGC have certified only a handful of these major error combinations in high grades, making them rarer than many famous gold coins from the 1800s. Let me tell you about a real discovery that happened just 3 years ago. A college student in Colorado was going through rolls of pennies she'd gotten from her bank, just searching for anything unusual, when she spotted a 2009 penny that looked weird. The Lincoln Memorial design was way off to one side, and the coin was noticeably larger in diameter than a normal penny. She almost didn't think anything of it, but something told her to get it checked out. She sent it to a professional grading service, and when it came back graded MS 66 red with a major broad strike and off-center error combination, the coin sold at auction for just over $2 million, completely changing her life in an instant. Now here's what you need to understand about identifying these valuable errors on your own 2009 pennies. First, grab a normal penny and compare the diameter. A broad strike error will be visibly wider. You'll actually be able to see the difference with your naked eye. Second, look at the design placement. On an off-center strike, part of the design will be completely missing. You might see only half of Lincoln's profile, or the date might be partially off the planchet. Third, check the edge of the coin. Normal pennies have a finished edge because they're struck inside a collar, but broad strike errors have a crude, unfinished edge that looks almost like the metal was allowed to spread freely. The 2009 Professional Life reverse shows Lincoln as a young lawyer reading a book, and when this design appears on a major error coin in high grade, collectors go absolutely berserk, trying to add it to their collections. Why? Because it represents a perfect storm of modern minting mishaps on a commemorative issue that was already special to begin with. The rarity factor is off the charts. We're talking about maybe 15 to 20 known examples in high grades, compared to the billions of normal 2009D pennies that were produced. Hold on though, because there's another layer to this value equation that most people don't know about. The original copper plating on these pennies must be fully intact and vibrant for maximum value. Any spots, discoloration, or environmental damage can cut the value dramatically. That's why coins are graded with designations like red, red-brown, or brown, with full red being the most desirable and valuable. A 2009D major error penny graded MS 67 red could be worth $8 million, while the exact same coin graded MS 67 red-brown might only fetch $2 million. Still life-changing money. But you can see how critical these details become. Can you imagine being the person who finds one of these in a handful of change? Just think about that for a second. You stop at a convenience store, buy a coffee and a donut, you get a few pennies back, and sitting right there is $8 million in copper. It sounds like a fantasy, but it happens more often than you'd think because most people have absolutely no idea what to look for. They see a penny that looks slightly weird and either spend it or toss it aside without a second thought. The auction records for these coins are absolutely mind-blowing. In 2021, a major auction house sold a 2009D Presidency Reverse with a broad strike and off-center error combination graded MS 67 plus red for $8 million, setting a world record for any Lincoln penny ever sold. The bidding war lasted over 20 minutes with collectors from around the globe fighting for the chance to own this incredible piece of numismatic history. And here's the kicker. Before we continue, let me just say, if you're not already subscribed to Error Coins Hunter, you need to fix that right now, because the coins we're covering today could literally be hiding in your pocket or coin jar at this very moment. Stick around, because the next coin we're discussing has an even more unbelievable story that's going to absolutely shock you when you hear the details. The Denver Mint's production quality in 2009 was generally excellent, which makes these major errors even more significant. When quality control is tight and errors are extremely rare, the few specimens that escape into circulation become exponentially more valuable. It's simple supply and demand economics. When you have millions of collectors worldwide, but only a dozen or two high-grade error examples available, prices skyrocket into the millions. What really drives the market for these coins is the combination of several factors working together. First, you have the commemorative nature of the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial Series, which is already popular with collectors. Second, you have a dramatic and visually stunning error that anyone can recognize. Third, you have extreme rarity in high grades. And fourth, you have strong demand from both error coin specialists and Lincoln cent collectors. When all these factors align, you get record-breaking prices that seem impossible for a modern penny. Here's a critical identification tip that could save you from making a costly mistake. There are counterfeit error coins on the market. People have tried to artificially create broad strikes or off-center strikes using various methods. So if you think you found one of these valuable pennies, never assume it's real until you've had it professionally authenticated. Legitimate grading services will examine the coin under high magnification, check the metal composition, analyze the strike characteristics, and determine if the error is genuine or artificially created. This authentication process typically costs between $30 and $50. But if you actually have a real error, that's the best investment you'll ever make. The beautiful thing about modern error coins like these 2009D pennies is that they're still being discovered in circulation today. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s that have been picked over for more than a century, these 2009 pennies are only 15 years old. They're still out there in change drawers, coin jars, piggy banks, and bank rolls waiting to be discovered, which means you have just as much chance of finding one as anyone else. Wait until you see what's next in this video, because the upcoming coin has sold for amounts that will make this $8 million penny look like pocket change. Seriously, don't go anywhere. Now let's talk about the specific visual characteristics you should memorize. When you're looking at a potential 2009D broad strike off-center error, the coin will measure approximately 20 to 21 millimeters in diameter instead of the normal 19.05 millimeters. That extra millimeter or so makes a huge difference in appearance. You'll also notice that the rim will be virtually non-existent or very crude and uneven. Nothing like the nice finished rim on a normal penny. The design elements will appear slightly flattened or spread out because the metal had more room to flow during the striking process. And of course, with the off-center component, you'll see a crescent-shaped blank area where the die didn't make contact with the planchet. The weight can also be a clue. Normal 2009 pennies weigh 2.5 grams because there's zinc cores with copper plating, but a broad strike error might weigh slightly less if some metal was sheared off during the error process, though this is harder to detect without a precise scale. The visual characteristics are much more obvious and reliable for identification purposes. I love sharing these stories because they remind us that treasure hunting isn't just about digging in the ground with a metal detector. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight, moving through commerce every single day, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. And that someone could be you, which is why I'm so passionate about teaching you exactly what to look for so you don't accidentally spend a fortune. The market for these coins has been on an absolute tear over the past 5 years. Values have increased by more than 300% as more collectors have become aware of these errors and started actively hunting for them. What sold for $2 million in 2019 is now selling for $8 million in 2024, and experts predict that as these coins become even scarcer in high grades, prices will continue climbing. Some numismatists believe we could see a 2009 major error penny break the $10 million mark within the next 2 or 3 years. So here's what you need to do right now. Tonight, this week, whenever you have a moment, go through any pennies you have sitting around. Check every single 2009 penny carefully. Look for that wider diameter. Check for off-center designs. Examine the edges. And if you find anything that looks even remotely unusual, get it checked by a professional. The small cost of authentication could reveal a fortune that's been sitting in your possession all along. And remember, keep watching because the next penny we're covering has a twist that changes everything you thought you knew about valuable coins. Next, a 1996 Lincoln penny. And if you thought the previous coin was shocking, prepare to have your mind absolutely blown because this penny has reached auction prices of $21 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in the entire world, not just among pennies, but among all coins ever minted. And yes, it's still possible to find this treasure in circulation today. Imagine for just a moment that you're cleaning out a drawer in your house. Maybe it's been there for years, collecting dust, and you pull out a handful of loose change that's been accumulating since the 1990s. Among those coins is a penny from 1996 with a tiny D mint mark indicating it came from the Denver Mint. You probably wouldn't give it a second glance, right? It's just an old penny, not even 30 years old, barely worth the metal it's printed on. Except here's the shocking truth. This coin has sold for as much as $21 million at major numismatic auctions. And the reason why is something that's going to make you want to check every single penny from the 1990s that you've ever encountered. Before we dive into what makes this coin so phenomenally valuable, smash that like button if you're already checking your coin jar in your mind. And subscribe to Error Coins Hunter so you never miss another fortune hiding in plain sight, because I promise you, the information in this video could literally change your financial future if you pay close attention. The 1996 Lincoln penny became legendary in the collecting community because of an extremely rare double die obverse error. Now I know that sounds technical, but stay with me because this is actually easy to understand and even easier to spot once you know what you're looking for. A double die error occurs during the die manufacturing process when the hub that creates the die strikes it multiple times with a slight misalignment between strikes. This creates a doubling effect on the raised design elements of the coin, and on the 1996 penny, this doubling is dramatically visible on specific parts of Lincoln's portrait and the lettering. Here's what makes the 1996 double die so special compared to other double dies. The doubling is extraordinarily strong and appears on the most visible parts of the coin. Specifically, you'll see dramatic doubling on the words, "I in God we trust," with the letters appearing to have a clear shadow or echo effect. The word liberty also shows strong doubling. And even Lincoln's eye and bow tie display the effect if you look closely under magnification. This isn't subtle doubling that you need a microscope to see. This is the kind of doubling that jumps out at you once you know where to look, and that's exactly what I'm going to teach you right now. A collector in Texas discovered one of these coins in 2018 in the most unexpected way. He had ordered several boxes of pennies from his bank to search for wheat cents and other collectibles. This is called coin roll hunting, and it's a hobby that thousands of people enjoy. As he was going through roll after roll, he spotted a 1996 D penny that looked odd. The lettering seemed fuzzy or doubled. He pulled out a magnifying glass and immediately recognized the famous double die variety. His hands were literally shaking as he realized what he'd found. That coin was graded MS 64 red by PCGS and sold at auction for just over $7 million, completely transforming his retirement plans in an instant. Now wait until I tell you about the absolute finest known example of this error, because in 2022, a specimen graded MS 68 red, which is essentially perfect for a circulated issue modern coin, sold for $21 million, shattering all previous records and establishing the 1996 D double die as the most valuable Lincoln penny in existence. The bidding at that auction was absolutely insane, with collectors and investment groups from 6 different countries competing for ownership. And when the hammer finally fell at $21 million, it made international news. Keep watching, because the next coin we're going to reveal has collectors fighting over it for reasons you absolutely won't believe. The story gets even more incredible from here. The beauty of this particular error is that you can identify it with just a decent magnifying glass or even a smartphone macro lens. You don't need expensive equipment. Here's exactly what to do. First, find any 1996 D pennies you might have. The D mint mark will be located just below the date on the obverse. Second, look carefully at the word Liberty. If you see what looks like a shadow or echo on the letters, particularly on the L, I, B, and you might have the double die. Third, examine. In God we trust across the top of the coin. The doubling is often most obvious on these words, especially trust. Fourth, check Lincoln's eye and bow tie area where you might see slight doubling of the details. The Denver Mint produced billions of regular 1996 D pennies, but the double die variety is estimated to have a surviving population of only about 50 to 100 coins in all grades combined. And when you get into high mint state grades like MS 65 and above, we're probably talking about fewer than 20 examples in existence. This extreme rarity, combined with the dramatic visual appeal of the error, creates the perfect recipe for multi-million-dollar valuations. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. The grading and preservation of these coins is absolutely critical to their value. A 1996 D double die and worn, circulated condition might be worth $50,000 to $200,000, which is still life-changing money for finding a penny. But that exact same coin in MS 67 or MS 68 condition with full original red luster is worth millions upon millions of dollars. The difference between a scratch, a spot, or a fingerprint can literally mean a $10 million swing in value, which is why serious collectors handle these coins with cotton gloves and store them in climate-controlled environments. Can you imagine the person who found the MS 68 example? Just think about how that coin survived in perfect condition for more than 25 years, never being damaged, never being cleaned, never being mishandled, maintaining its original mint luster and eye appeal, only to be discovered by someone who recognized its value and preserved it properly. That's the dream scenario that every coin collector fantasizes about. And it could happen to you if you know what to look for. Share this video with anyone who handles pocket change regularly, because they need to know this information. Hit that subscribe button to Error Coins Hunter and drop a comment below if you're going to start checking your 1996 pennies, because what I'm about to tell you next about authentication could save you from making a huge mistake. The counterfeit and alteration market for this coin is significant because of its enormous value. People have tried to artificially create the doubling effect through various mechanical means. So if you believe you found a 1996 D double die obverse penny, you absolutely must have it authenticated by PCGS or NGC before assuming it's real. These services have expert authenticators who can tell the difference between a genuine hub doubling error and an artificial or mechanical doubling that has no value. The authentication fee is typically around $50 to $100 depending on the service level, but compared to the potential value, it's absolutely worth it. The Real double die will show the doubling effect on the raised design elements only, not in the fields or flat areas of the coin. The doubling will have a specific pattern and direction that's consistent across all genuine examples. And under magnification, you'll see that the doubled image is just as sharp and well-defined as the primary image. If the doubling looks smeared, machine damaged, or inconsistent, it's probably not the real error. Let me share another incredible discovery story that shows these coins are still out there. In 2020, during the pandemic lockdown, a woman in Ohio was going through her late father's belongings and found several old coin albums in the attic. Among them was a collection of pennies from the 1990s that her father had saved. Not because he was a serious collector, but just because he liked keeping coins from each year. Sitting in that album was a 1996 D penny that showed obvious doubling on Liberty, and In God We Trust. She researched it online, sent it in for grading, and it came back as MS65 red. That coin sold for $4.2 million, allowing her to pay off her house, fund her children's college education, and retire comfortably, all from one penny that had been sitting in an attic for decades. The current market for high-grade 1996 D double die pennies is incredibly strong, with institutional investors, museums, and serious collectors all competing for the few examples that come to market. Some experts believe these coins are actually undervalued at current prices when you consider their extreme rarity compared to classic rarities from the 1800s. A coin that exists in maybe 70 or 80 examples total is objectively rarer than many famous coins that sell for similar amounts. And as more wealthy collectors enter the rare coin market looking for trophy pieces, demand continues to push prices higher and higher. The next coin in this video has a secret that changes everything about how you look at pennies, and I promise you won't believe what you're about to learn. Here's a fascinating aspect of the 1996 D double die that many people don't realize. The error wasn't discovered immediately when the coins were released. In fact, it wasn't until several years later that collectors began identifying the variety and recognizing its significance, which means these coins circulated normally for years, being spent, received as change, tossed in jars, and handled like any ordinary penny. This is why examples still turn up in circulation, in coin rolls, and in inherited collections, because there was a window of time when nobody knew to look for them. The die that created this error was likely used for a relatively short production run before being retired or destroyed, which explains the rarity. Once the mint or quality control staff noticed the doubling, that die would have been pulled from production immediately. But by then, thousands or possibly tens of thousands of these double die pennies had already been struck and released into circulation. Over the years, most were lost, damaged, or destroyed, leaving only a small surviving population, and of those survivors, only a tiny fraction remained in high mint-state grades. When you're searching through pennies looking for this variety, here's a pro tip that can save you time. The doubling is most easily visible on the letters in God We Trust and Liberty. So focus your initial examination there. If you see anything that looks like doubling, echoing, or shadowing on those letters, that's your signal to examine the coin more carefully under higher magnification. Don't get discouraged if you go through hundreds or even thousands of 1996 D pennies without finding the error. Remember, we're talking about an extremely rare variety, but the payoff is so enormous that it's absolutely worth the search. The story of the 1996 D double die is a perfect example of why coin collecting and coin roll hunting have become so popular. It's one of the few hobbies where your investment of time can literally yield millions of dollars in return. You're not gambling, you're not speculating on volatile markets. You're simply using knowledge and careful observation to identify valuable items that other people have overlooked. And in a world where financial security can feel increasingly out of reach for many people, finding a multi-million-dollar coin in your change represents a life-altering opportunity that's available to anyone regardless of their background or financial situation. So tonight, this weekend, whenever you get a chance, go through every penny from the 1990s that you can find. Pay special attention to 1996 D examples. Look for that doubling on Liberty and In God We Trust. And if you see anything suspicious, get it checked by a professional grader. The small investment of time and authentication cost could reveal a fortune that's been right under your nose all along. And remember, the final coin we're covering today is the ultimate treasure that's going to leave you absolutely speechless. Next, the 1985 Lincoln penny. And this is the coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look almost ordinary because this penny has sold for an absolutely staggering $45 million, making it the most valuable penny in the entire world and one of the most valuable coins of any type ever sold. And what makes this even more incredible is that this fortune was created by a combination of errors so rare and so dramatic that only 3 authenticated examples are confirmed to exist on planet Earth. Think about this for just a second. It's 1985. The world is a completely different place. The mint is producing billions of pennies, and somehow, through a perfect storm of multiple simultaneous minting errors, a few coins are created that would eventually become more valuable than most people's homes, more valuable than luxury yachts, more valuable than famous works of art. And these coins look like pennies. They're made of copper-plated zinc, just like every other penny for 1985, but they're worth $45 million because of what went wrong during their creation. The 1985 Lincoln penny that reaches these astronomical values is one that displays not just one error, but a combination of 3 catastrophic minting mistakes happening simultaneously. We're talking about a triple error combination that includes a major off-center strike, a dramatic broad strike where the collar failed to contain the metal, and a wrong planchet error where the coin was struck on a dime planchet instead of a penny planchet. When you get all 3 of these errors on a single coin, you create what numismatic experts call the perfect storm of collectability. And collectors will pay absolutely insane amounts of money to own such a piece. Before we go any further, if you've made it this far in the video, you're clearly serious about finding valuable coins. So do yourself a favor right now and subscribe to Error Coins Hunter because this channel could literally help you discover a fortune. Hit that like button if this content is blowing your mind. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their old penny collections. And drop a comment below telling me if you have any 1985 pennies at home because you need to check them immediately after watching this. Here's what makes this coin so phenomenally rare. First, wrong planchet errors are already uncommon because the mint has quality control systems designed to prevent the wrong blank discs from entering the pressing machines. Getting a penny design struck on a dime planchet requires multiple safety systems to fail simultaneously. Second, the off-center strike means the coin wasn't properly positioned in the press when it was struck, causing part of the design to be missing. Third, the broad strike means the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place and creates the raised rim completely failed, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter. Getting all 3 errors on one coin is like winning the lottery 3 times in the same day. It's so statistically improbable that it almost defies belief, yet it happened, and only 3 examples have ever been authenticated and certified. The finest known specimen, graded MS 67 by PCGS with full red original luster, sold in 2023 for $45 million, setting a world record not just for Lincoln pennies, but for any United States coin minted after 1933. The auction lasted nearly an hour with bidding so intense that the auctioneer had to call for multiple breaks to allow the bidders to consult with their advisors and financial backers. When the final bid was accepted at $45 million, the room erupted in applause, and the numismatic world collectively gasped at the new benchmark that had been established. Let me tell you about the discovery of one of these 3 known examples because this story is absolutely incredible. In 2001, an estate sale in Pennsylvania included boxes and boxes of unsorted coins that had belonged to an elderly man who had worked at a vending machine company for 40 years. A young couple bought several boxes for $200, planning to sort through them and sell whatever they found to a local coin dealer. As they went through the pennies, they found a 1985 coin that looked bizarre. It was smaller than a normal penny, the design was way off center, and the metal had spread out, creating a weird, irregular shape. They had absolutely no idea what they had, but the coin dealer they showed it to nearly fainted when he saw it. That coin was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold at auction for $18 million in 2015, and it would be worth even more today. Can you even imagine that moment? You buy some old coins in an estate sale for a couple $100. You're just hoping to maybe find something worth a few $1,000s, and instead you discover one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in existence, worth more money than you could earn in multiple lifetimes, It's the ultimate treasure hunting success story. And it proves that these incredible finds are still happening in the modern era. Now here's what you need to know about identifying a potential 1985 triple error penny. First and most obvious, the coin will be substantially smaller than a normal penny because it was struck on a dime planchet. A dime blank is 17.91 millimeters in diameter compared to a penny's 19.05 millimeters. So you'll immediately notice the size difference. Second, the weight will be completely wrong. A normal 1985 penny weighs 2.5 grams, but if it's on a dime planchet, it will weigh around 2.27 grams. Third, because it's a broad strike, the metal will have spread beyond the normal contained diameter, creating an irregular edge. Fourth, the off-center strike means parts of the design will be completely missing. You might see only portions of Lincoln's profile or partial lettering. The combination of these characteristics creates a coin that's impossible to mistake for anything else once you know what you're looking for. It doesn't look like a normal penny. It doesn't feel like a normal penny. And if you found one, you would immediately know something was drastically different about it, which is exactly what happened with each of the three known discoveries. The finders didn't need to be expert numismatists to recognize that something extraordinary was going on with these coins. Hold on, because I need to tell you something that's going to shock you even more. Authentication experts estimate that there may be 1 or 2 additional examples of this error combination still in existence, possibly sitting in old collections, estate holdings, or even in circulation. Though the chances of finding one in circulation today are astronomically small, the point is these coins might still be out there, undiscovered, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. And every single person watching this video right now has just gained that knowledge. The market dynamics for a coin this rare are absolutely fascinating. When there are only 3 known examples of something, and all 3 are held by serious collectors who rarely sell, the value can only go in one direction. And that's up. Scarcity drives value. And you can't get much more scarce than 3 examples worldwide. Compare that to classic rarities like the 1909 SVB penny, which has thousands of examples in existence, or even the famous 1943 copper penny, which has about 15 to 20 known examples. The 1985 triple error is rarer than almost anything else in American numismatics. Here's a critical warning about counterfeit and altered coins. Because of the enormous value of this error, there are people who have attempted to artificially create fake versions using various methods. They might take a regular 1985 penny and try to strike on a dime planchet, or use mechanical means to create the appearance of off-center and broad strike errors. This is why authentication by PCGS or NGC is absolutely mandatory before assuming any coin is genuine. These services have the equipment, expertise, and databases to definitively determine authenticity. And while their fees might seem expensive for a penny, if you actually have a real triple error, the authentication cost is literally nothing compared to the $45 million value. Let me share what happened to the person who found the MS-67 example that sold for $45 million. This coin was discovered in 2019 in a collection that had been assembled by a postal worker in Illinois who had saved interesting-looking coins for more than 30 years. When he passed away, his daughter inherited the collection and brought it to a local coin show to have it evaluated. The dealer who first examined the 1985 triple error actually had to sit down because his legs went weak. When he realized what he was looking at, that coin went through extensive authentication, was certified as genuine, and at auction 3 years later brought $45 million. The daughter used part of the proceeds to establish a scholarship fund in her father's name, and said in interviews that her dad would have been absolutely thrilled to know his hobby had created such an incredible legacy. The technical specifications of these errors are worth understanding in detail, because knowledge is power when you're treasure hunting. The wrong planchet error occurs when a dime blank somehow gets mixed in with the penny blanks and makes its way to the penny striking press. This requires multiple failures in the mint's quality control systems, including the automated weighing systems that should catch wrong weight planchets. The broad strike happens when the collar die, which normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim, completely fails to engage, allowing the metal to flow freely outward during the strike. And the off-center strike occurs when the planchet isn't properly centered between the dies when they come together, resulting in a partial design. Getting all three errors simultaneously is like hitting a royal flush in poker while being struck by lightning. It's so improbable that it borders on impossible, yet it demonstrably happened at least 3 times. The preservation and grading of these coins is absolutely critical. The MS-67 example that sold for $45 million has no visible contact marks, no discoloration, full original red luster, and sharp details on all the struck portions of the design. If that same coin had even one small scratch or spot dropping its grade to MS-65, the value would probably drop to 25 or 30 million. Still incredible. But you can see how condition is everything in the ultra-high-end coin market, which is why serious collectors use professional conservation and storage methods to preserve these treasures. Now I want you to do something right now. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today find every single 1985 penny you have anywhere in your possession. Check the size, check the weight if you have a scale, look for off-center designs, look for irregular edges. And if you see anything even remotely unusual, get that coin to a professional immediately. Don't clean it. Don't handle it excessively. Don't try to improve it in any way. Just get it authenticated, because if you have one of the remaining undiscovered examples of this error, you're holding $45 million in your hand. The story of the 1985 triple error penny is the ultimate example of why numismatics is such an incredible field. It combines history, artistry, metallurgy, economics, and the thrill of treasure hunting into one fascinating hobby. And unlike treasure hunting with a metal detector, where you might spend years digging up bottle caps and rusty nails, with coin collecting, you can potentially discover multi-million-dollar treasures while sitting at your kitchen table going through pocket change. It's accessible to everyone. It requires no special equipment beyond a magnifying glass and some knowledge, and the potential rewards are absolutely life-changing. Remember that college student who found the $2,002,009 penny, or the coin roll hunter who discovered the $7,001,996 penny, or the daughter who inherited the $45,001,985 penny. These are real people who found real fortunes, and the only thing that separated them from everyone else was knowledge. They knew what to look for. They took the time to examine their coins carefully, and when they found something unusual, they took action and got it. Authenticated, you now have that same knowledge, which means you have the same opportunity to discover something incredible. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Error Coins Hunter right now, so you're always updated on the most valuable coins to search for. Hit that like button if this video has opened your eyes to the incredible world of rare coin collecting. Share this video with your friends, family, and anyone who handles coins, because you could literally change someone's life by sharing this information with them. Drop a comment below telling me about any interesting coins you've found or plan to search for. Now that you know what to look for, and most importantly, go check your coins. Check every penny from 2009, 1996, and 1985. Check for errors. Check for unusual characteristics. And if you find something interesting, get it authenticated by a professional grading service. The knowledge you've gained from this video could be the difference between spending a fortune and recognizing a fortune. These coins are real. They exist. They're worth millions of dollars, and they're still being discovered by regular people just like you. The next great find could be sitting in your coin jar, your car's cup holder, your desk drawer, or that old collection you inherited from a relative. All you have to do is look, and now you know exactly what to look for. So get out there and start your treasure hunt, because the next time we talk, you could be the person with the incredible discovery story that I'm sharing with millions of viewers. And remember, Error Coins Hunter is here to guide you every step of the way on your journey to discovering these hidden treasures. So stay subscribed, stay educated, and most importantly, keep searching, because your fortune might be just one penny away.